think that I kind of have a unique experience in the sense that I remember going into my first year. I think there were so many people that were like really into architecture, and I was like, oh, I'm here trying to like figure it out. Like I'm just doing this off of a whim almost. And so it didn't really click for me until I was like second, third year, which I think was like, I love progress more than the opposite would have been terrible to go in loving it and come out hating it. So that's where our like workshop is. So there's so many times where I was walking between these two buildings at like 1 a.m. carrying like a bunch of cardboard. But anyways, yeah, my love for it really grew once I was already on campus and I started to see that it's not just buildings, it's space and it's people and it's, you know, it's changed throughout history, and that's also super interesting. And so there's so many more facets to it that just made me so much more attracted to the idea. Brooks Hall, this is the marble facade. It brings in kind of the classical architecture element into the architecture campus. Look at these Corinthian columns. See? I remember something. The biggest thing is design is really iterative. Like I like to start off with models, like with just taking like little blocks of foam or cardboard or whatever, and just kind of seeing like how these spaces can interact. And then from there, you develop it more through sketching and then through like layers and layers of getting more and more detailed. So I knew for this specific model, I wanted an earthy feel, so I chose all of these wood-based materials. This is one of my favorite projects. It's my pride and joy. It's called Bridge Artistry, and it was an artist in residence program. So we had like 3 galleries, 3 studios, and then 3 residences for these artists, hypothetical artists that would exist on this site. I feel like it doesn't look like much without the pattern. My inspiration was the natural landscape of the NCMA park. You know, when you get into those wooded spots of the park, it's very highly sloped. My project Bridge Artistry is sited right over there behind us amongst those trees. This was the place that my class had come to for inspiration. There's a big interwoven aspect of nature and art and how those things play together and how we experience them. These residences you've never seen a house that's like 100 feet long and like 20 feet wide. And the whole idea was I'm gonna hide it in plain sight, because the whole point of the project was to have a difference between private and public space. And so I was like, what would be the best way to hide a residence, you know, besides the obvious, like setting it off all the way over there or hiding it behind trees. I was like, I'm gonna make it look like it's not a house, because when someone comes and visits the site, they're not gonna think, you know, to peek in there and, you know, kind of eliminate the privacy element. Even for me, going into architecture, you know, I thought about architecture as 4 walls and a ceiling and a floor. And so coming into school, you come to realize that we're not designing the buildings, we're not designing how the walls look from the outside, because you think about a skyscraper, as a person, you're never experiencing that skyscraper as a whole building, you're experiencing it at the human scale, so floor by floor. And so you begin to realize that architecture is the design of the space that's within these buildings and how those spaces interact. We're not learning about how to make a building pretty, because that's relative at the end of the day and things change through time. It's about what that building means to people and how people experiencing it, like as individuals together. I don't know where I heard this once, but someone told me they were like, success isn't measured by where you end up, it's measured by how many people you bring with you. And I'm like, that to me was like the most beautiful thing I've ever heard in my life. Because I was like, well, in my world, in architecture and design, I'm like, yeah, you know, I'm not just designing a building or whatever for myself to be like, look what I did. Like, this is awesome. It's like I'm designing it so that so many people can experience, you know, my efforts to make things better for other people and for myself. Because you have to remember that you are part of the environment you're designing for. You know, we're not just like moving around puzzle pieces. It's like we're also involved in the community. And that's what's cool too about design, is it's a group effort. You're never doing anything start to finish alone. And so you get all these perspectives and input, and I love it.